Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome and thank you so much for joining our session. Today we will talk about training design thinking in African context and especially in Francophone and West African context. So I would like to say first that Sasha and I are really pleased to be there with you during this DCOM festival. And this is an amazing opportunity for us to meet researchers, design educators from many countries in the continent. So thank you so much to the School Africa for organizing such an important event. So my name is Caroline. I'm a product and service designer, design educator, and head of the YUX Academy since last January. As you can hear with my accent, I am French. I have been based in Francophone West Africa for 9 years, and I'm really deeply passionate about design education challenges in African context and especially in Francophone ones. I lived in Togo and then in Benin, where I set up and led the first design school in Francophone West Africa. It was 3 years ago, and I am now based in Dakar in Senegal. And I'm happy to share this presentation with Sasha.
Thank you, Caroline. Hello, everyone. My name is Sasha Ofori. I am a UX researcher and trainer at YUX Academy. I've been working there for about 2 years now, and I work remotely from Ghana.
So the YUX Academy is a training center powered by YUX, and YUX is a design agency based in Dakar and in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire. We are like 40 collaborators, UX, UI designers, UX researchers, working remotely in 7 different African countries and from more than 10 different nationalities. I think our main characteristic is maybe to bridge the gap between the Anglophone and the Francophone context. We work with international companies, but also with local ones, with local champions, as we like to say, and also startups, to support them in the creation of digital products and services adapted to the diversity of our cultural context. So the YUX Academy was created in 2018 because of 2 observations. The first one was that the YUX agency had some difficulties to hire skilled designers, especially in Senegal. And the second one was that there was a big demand for training program in design because there were no design school at this time in the sub-region. So our core activity is really our training center when we deliver some capacity building programs for international organizations, companies, and we also offer some training programs for young designers. With our resources center, we also partner with some local design communities. We help them to set up trainings, we contribute to their events. And when I arrived a few months ago, I suggest creating a kind of design education lab to be able to address some observations and challenges we face when teaching design thinking in African context. And today, with my colleague Sasha, we are very pleased to share with you some experimentation and some learnings we have in this kind of design education lab. The first observation is more about the format of our training. The second one will be more about the way to teach. And the third one is about the content of our material training, what we are teaching in our classes in terms of tools and methodologies. So it's still a work in progress for us because it's like research, you know. So we are delighted to share that, and of course we are pleased to receive your feedback at the end of the session. Okay. So, sorry. Excuse me. Okay. I think it's, yeah. So the first observation was made is related to the training offer. The question for us was, how can I train in design thinking being in Africa, and maybe especially in West Africa? What options do I have? So option one could be design departments in university, as you have in South Africa, for instance, but you have to know that in West Africa, except Ghana and Nigeria, we don't have design departments in our universities. So option two could be joining a design school where they teach design thinking. In South Africa, I know that you have something like 20 design schools in your country, and it's really amazing. But in West Africa, I think I can count less than 5 for the sub-region, and if we focus on Francophone Africa, we have only one in Benin. And this school is in fact a partnership with a French design school who is actually relocating its a French national degree with a curriculum designed 6,000 kilometers away without taking into consideration the context. And according to my experience, and I can say that because I was part of this project at the beginning, it has 2 important impacts. The importation of a French design culture, you know, it's again this matter about the single story. And it's also the importation of a French pedagogical culture in a former French colony. And it's really relevant to keep in mind that, you know, because, yeah, education is powerful and was used as a tool for domination during the colonization. And outside the tuition fees high, the duration is very long and not suited to most of the young people we can meet. In Benin, for instance, the baccalaureate success rate was around 38% in 2019 because of complex learning context. But many of these students are really talented in design and have already skills. So maybe another option would be to attend online training, but it can be difficult, you know, to practice on your own, on the field, and design thinking is really about practicing. And there is a lack of African-based cases we can find in this material training, and maybe especially regarding Francophone countries. So that's why our first challenge with the YUX Academy is how we can create design thinking training program adapted to the African cultural context and to the needs of our students and learners. So our first experimentation was short cohorts from 3 to 6 weeks, affordable, with the possibility to do internships in our agency after the training. And we trained more than 200 learners in French and also in English, mainly in person before the COVID, and maybe thanks to the COVID, we developed some online trainings too. And Sasha is one of our alumni.
So, hello? Can you hear me?
No.
Okay. So I am a proud product of the YUX Academy. I joined the YUX Academy 2020 during the pandemic, and it was a 4-week intensive program where we were introduced to the foundational levels of design thinking skills. I already have a degree in computer science, so doing the course, the 4-week intensive program wasn't a real challenge, because I was very used to the intensity from my program. But in the class were other people who didn't have any foundational skills in what we're talking about, but they all were able to follow through with the sessions and understand what we're talking about. And what I liked about this course was it was very interactive, and it was a very intimate class. And the session was led by one of our co-founders, Camille, and she made the session very interactive for everyone to learn. And the other thing is the career progression for the people who join the academy. So it's either you are reintegrated into the company as an intern to be able to practice your theory in a very practical way, and you are also added to an alumni network that shares a lot of opportunities, job opportunities to people in that network.
Thank you, Sasha.
Thank you.
And based on the feedback from our participants like Sasha, we have noticed a real need to support the journey of a designer and a need for having a solid professional experience. That's also the reason why we've decided to stop for a moment our cohorts and maybe to have a break and to redesign our training programs. Bug design program is one of them. We are partnering in this program with the French Design School in the sense that we welcome two students for the French Design School in each cohort, and it allows to have an experience in intercultural way to work too, and it's important. So BOC is a Wolof word. Wolof is one of our local languages in Senegal and means let's do it together. So the goal is really to create a team of 6 members with different profiles, IT profiles, marketing profiles, designer, UX, UI. They can be beginners, and they are really welcomed by a local company to support the company to solve a problem. So the duration is about 4 months, and each week they have 2-hour classes and 2-hour project review. So it's really a practice-based pedagogy and approach. And I think it's kind of strategic approach for us too, because in terms of employment, we offer a company which does not have a design team yet to experience the value of recruiting designers. So it's like, after the BOC program, we hope that they understand why it's important to have a design team in their company. And they can understand the design thinking approach that many of our partners are really discovering, because it's really applied on their projects. And next Monday, we will launch the second BOC design program. Last year, it was a pilot program. And we partner with a local NGO in Dakar called Social Change Factory. We have recruited a team of 6 BOCers. It's like we call the members. And the project will focus on designing a serious game to inform youth in Senegal about Senegalese culture. So we are also convinced that we need design leaders to spread the voice of design thinking and to explain the value of design in their companies. So that's why we are building this program in partnership with Pan-African Design Institute. The goal is in 6 months to support designers, mid-level designers, to upskill in their management skills, leadership, project management too. And we are really looking for some designer able to spread the voice of design and to upskill in that and to be leaders. The program is also bilingual because, you know, we are really careful about this bridge between Francophone and African context, and this program will be launched next month. So, so far of our experimentations, we can today share with you 3 of our main learnings. The first one is about when you design a training program, think you are designing a professional experience, not only a training. The second one is about the fact that we think it's really, really important to involve local companies to argue the value of hiring our African designers. And the third one and final one would be ambitious and creative, because we need to support our designers in their career path, and we have to be innovative with them.
Thank you. So just by a show of hands, should design thinking be taught only to designers, or it should be for everyone? Yes or no? Just by a show of hands, should design thinking?
Yes. Yes, you raise your hand.
Yes. If yes, raise your hand. Okay. Thank you. We also agree with that. And I think we've been also speaking about that throughout the conference. So the main question here we are trying to ask is how to design and lead design thinking capacity building programs in Africa. So I am going to be sharing 2 experiences that we face at YUX. The first experience here is working with IRC. IRC is International Rescue Committee, and it's a non-governmental organization whose mission is to help people who have been persecuted by war, natural disasters, or displaced by other natural disasters. So the ask over here was to train and empower their staff in entry-level design thinking skills to be able to apply it in their work. And most of these staff members were focused on sexual health programs, reproductive health. They were mainly in the medical field. And this program ran for 4 months, 2 hours per week, and had practical in-person projects that they needed to complete. For our second example here, we have MSF, which is also Doctors Without Borders, and their aim was to help staff develop better ways of coming up with medical solutions in the communities. And most of the staff over here were also medical professionals, midwives, nurses, supervisors, and such. And this project is currently ongoing, and it's been running for about 4 months now in about 4 countries. There's Kenya, Turkey, Chad, and Sierra Leone. And we also have 2-hour class sessions each week, mentoring and coaching office hours sessions, and also they have to complete projects for the course. So our first learning over here is working to manage your expectations. So the goal for this model is not to really train them to become full-time designers, but to become design ambassadors and to be able to use parts and pieces of the design thinking methodology however it suits their needs. We as trainers also have to manage the participants' expectations to know that design thinking isn't going to solve all their problems, but is going to challenge them to change their mindsets in how they approach problems and how they solve them. We have a good quote here from one of our members at the MSF staff in Kenya who said, it was her first time hearing about design thinking, and she really liked the approach of thinking and the patience we use in training them in the projects. So that was really good to hear. On our second learning is adapting our instructional design. The framework that we try to adopt is something where YUX supports and they own the process. So we want them to be able to do the work and own the process, own the solutions that they come up with. And with this model, we realize that the most important part of the design thinking process that they really need is how to collect data, how to do interviews, and how to gather valuable insights. So we really focus on that aspect of the process. And since this relies heavily on their expertise, they know their work better, and they can be able to flesh out this part better than we can. So we follow more of a support role, and they do the work. And we have a good testimony here from a Turkey team member who said they've been doing field research for a long time, but they didn't have a structure that design thinking brought for them. So that was really good for their projects. On our third learning here, we have collaboration without borders. So we as YUX designers or YUX trainers, we have to play different roles, from facilitating to supporting to coaching, whatever role that we need to play to ensure that the project runs well is what we do. Sometimes we also need to either be project managers on the projects, because that's just how it is. And one key learning over here is to really create a safe space for them to share and to connect. Because we are doing things online, sometimes it removes the human connection from there. So we really need to open it up and let them be able to feel like we are a part of them or we are in the same room with them. And one way we've been able to assess our work is having midterm assessments and feedback to really hear from them. What do they like? What don't they like? What can we change about the whole course to make it better for them? On our fourth learning here is learning to adapt your tools to their needs. All the experiences I shared early on were virtual experiences, which involves technology. And sometimes I believe when technology realizes that the project is very important, it decides not to show up or it will just go off. So it's always important to have a plan B, C, D, E to Z. Currently, we have our interactive sessions on Miro and our calls on Google Meet. A good example I can give you here for one of our classes is we have the sessions in Miro. Some people can join on Miro, so I would have to share my screen on Miro. And some people can also join on Google Meet, so I would have to use WhatsApp call and be sharing whilst we are on the Google Meet. And some people can join on Miro. So as we are doing the interactive sessions on Miro, we will be taking screenshots of the Miro interaction and sharing it into WhatsApp. A long process, very tedious. But I'm glad that we have two facilitators in each session to be able to support the main person whilst we are ongoing with the process. And at the end of each session, we also send WhatsApp summaries of what happened during the class sessions, giving them a very structured to-do list for what they need to accomplish for the next week. On to our final lesson or learning. Due to the different profiles of the students we have, most of them are medical professionals doing other things, so sometimes they might be in the field whilst we need to do classes. So over here, we need to be very flexible and creative with how we conduct our courses. And the most important thing is to let them know to inform you ahead of time so you can plan for those emergencies. A good way we've done this is to always have recorded sessions of the classes so that people who weren't able to join the sessions would be able to review the courses and come back with their questions when needed. And I also mentioned the fact that we have summaries on WhatsApp. And in the case where somebody doesn't show up, instead of doing it in a group setting on WhatsApp, we would check up on them through the direct message because they feel that's more personal than just sharing their business in the WhatsApp group. A good feedback over here we had from Johanna in Kenya MSF was the program was very adaptive to their project peculiarities. And as a trainer, when you hear this, you know that you're doing the right thing.
Yeah. Thank you, Sasha. Before to go on with the third part, I have another question for you. Are you pro with this sentence? Spreading the voice of design thinking in Africa is also spreading a design culture. So you can raise your hand if you agree. Okay. Thank you. And if you are online, you can also vote. It's interesting for us to have your feedback in this kind of thinking for us. So, okay, I think there are some slides missing. Don't matter. The part is more about the content of which we train to design thinking and the definition of design thinking practices in African context. The observation we have made is that the concept and the wording of design thinking come from the West. And also the design job and the design thinking is sometimes presented like a new thing in Africa. You know, it's like we didn't have design and now we have design. But we are really convinced at the YUX Academy that design already exists, in Africa. And that's why this Kenyan researcher is one of our inspiration. Amolo Ambole has written this amazing article that I advised to all of you to read. It's really, really, really important. Rethinking design making and design thinking in Africa. If you read that, you have all the vision that we have at the YUX Academy and that we are sharing with you. So I'm also deeply convinced that the culture has an important impact of the way you define and choose a problem. Maybe a problem for you is not a problem for me, and we have not the same perception of what is a problem because we have different culture about having problems, you know. So through our design education lab, we are trying to conduct some pedagogical experimentation to have answers to this question, how we can explore the African design cultures to reimagine design thinking methodologies. I mean, in terms of tools and methodology we use to do design thinking. Maybe we can use different methodologies that the double diamond from the British Council, you know. So I'm really, really happy to share with you for the first time today one of our first experimentation. This is a design research program we are building in partnership with the Pan-African Design Institute. It's called African ID, and the goal is to allow to our African designers and learners to explore by themselves their African design culture. So it's a 6-month research program on African design knowledge and know-how. The goal is really simple. We support you to have a research field. So you come in another territory, region of your own country, and you will explore some ways to do design, some methodology, some tools you can observe and analyze. And we support you with some PADI mentors, and thank you again to PADI to partner with us in this program. We support you to prepare a masterclass. Then at the end of the 6 months, you will be able to share your results, your results into a masterclass. So it's really linked also to my personal research in decolonizing design education, and especially in Francophone West Africa. That's why I'm really involved and really glad to work with the PADI in this program. So I think we are at the end of our presentation. So if you have questions, we are happy to answer you. And thank you for your attention.
Any questions?
Any questions? Hello, and thanks so much for your talk. My name is Ruth. I'm interested in the participants throughout your learnings. Do you find that mostly working with people who are frontline workers? It definitely sounded like from those two aid organizations that they were frontline workers. And how much do you feel that it focuses on improving services and service delivery versus kind of procedural or like more complex and wicked type problems? What's been the background of your participants and the kind of cases that they've had to tackle? That would be my question. Thanks.
Okay, I'll let you first.
Okay, so most of our participants from the MSF and the IRC are people within the medical field, and their focus is mostly on reproductive health, sexual education, that kind of thing. So in terms of the medical field, they work mostly with women and children in that field. Yeah.
Yeah, and for our training programs dedicated to young designers, I think the important thing we do is actually to welcome people with no degrees. Yeah. So we don't have many requirements except your motivation and you're willing to become a designer.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. Is decolonizing design learning and design thinking just another element of unlearning, which was shared in the previous conversation, that is something that we should all do? Or is it something core, a lot deeper, that in fact ends up channeling all your energy, how important is the decolonization element in your work?
Okay, thank you for the question. In fact, we try to find answer to this problem of decolonizing design first and then design education in our experimentation through our design education lab. It's really new, it's only a few months. And I think we really see the importance to this research part, to this research work for us, because we assess our capacity building programs, and we can see that maybe sometimes our tools and methodology are not exactly fitted to the concept. This is really a motivation, thanks to this assessment, to see the fact that we need to do with a different way. Yeah. So for now, we are not a research lab at full time. We are a training center, and we do a lot of training online, in person, with many, we have our training program. Most of our time is really dedicated to training, but we are trying to have inspiration and new answers about our tools and methodology. That's why this research training program, African ID, is really important, because it's not only, the research will not come only from us. We want to share it with our learners, and they have answers as we have to. Yeah. You're welcome.
My name is Calvin, and thank you very much for your presentation. We wanted to know what and how do you bring the design thinking mindsets through, or how do you incorporate the design thinking mindsets in the training that you've done, and potentially how even has those mindsets landed, especially thinking that once you move away, for example, after a 2-3 day, 4-month intervention, for example, what is that stick factor that ultimately allows people to go and practice out of their own? And again, I think in our experience, we realized that the mindsets are quite critical in landing, but also in teaching, I suppose. So keen to know how you've incorporated that. Thank you.
I think maybe I can start and Caroline can add on to that. A good feedback we had from one of our participants was the fact that the part that he enjoyed the most was where we spoke about power dynamics when going into the field. So we explained about when going into the field, how you should approach the users that we are going to interview, how to dress, how to speak, the culture that you need to get, the place that you're going to and the culture that you need to do, and trying to understand their culture first before going into those places. Luckily for some of our participants, they are part of the community, but we try to make them know that it's always good to first refresh your mind on the do's and don'ts in that culture. Understand that in that way you have some sort of power, and you want to minimize it as much as possible to make the people we are going to speak to feel more vulnerable to share. So I think that mindset shifts is something that really sticks with them. That's just an example that we got from our participants. Maybe you can add on to it.
No, it's okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. I would like to find out, I heard you mention that most of your participants have been from the medical field, and especially on the sexual reproduction, health, and all those areas. Is it by design, or you are open to other fields as well? This has only been probably because of the sponsors whom you are partnering with.
It's not only on the medical sector. I think there was the two best examples. That's why we shared that. Sure. But we have also training in tech and agri-tech. We do capacity building program for GSMA, for instance, for MTN, Orange in Senegal. So many different sectors. And it's true that at the YUX agency we have some of our UX researchers that have a background in medical health. For instance, we have Haisatu, one of our UX senior researcher, who were a medical worker.
Midwife.
So that's why we have some experts on some fields.
Yeah. But I think we are open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have time for one more question. Any burning questions? I think maybe just final comments before we wrap up.
We're really happy if you have some experience to share with us. Don't hesitate to come and speak, because we are really, in fact, the West Africa is not really connected to South Africa because it's far, and East Africa too. And I know that you are doing many experimentations about design education. So we would be very happy to exchange with you.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you.